What if every thought you've ever had, every word you've ever spoken, every action you've ever taken was being recorded, not by someone else, but by the universe itself? Not as punishment or reward, not as divine judgment, but as cause and effect, silent, inevitable, inescapable. This is not superstition. This is not religion. This is the ancient universal principle known as karma, a cosmic law more precise than gravity, more consistent than time. And yet, most people misunderstand it. They reduce it to something simple: do good, do bad, get bad. But karma is far more nuanced, far more powerful, and deeply personal. It's not about waiting for fate to strike. It's about recognizing that you are always planting seeds, whether you realize it or not. Some grow quickly, others take years, but none are ever lost. The life you're living right now, the relationships you have, the opportunities before you, the pain you carry, the joy you feel, is not random. It is the harvest of what you've sown, and the future you desire, it begins with what you plant today. In this journey, we will explore the 10 fundamental laws of karma, laws that govern not just destiny, but choice, laws that reveal how your inner world shapes your outer reality, laws that, when understood and applied, can change your life forever. This isn't just philosophy, this is transformation. Are you ready to see yourself and your life in a whole new light? Let's begin. Law number 1, the great law: as you sow, so shall you reap. What if every word you've ever spoken, every action you've ever taken, and even the silent thoughts you've harbored were quietly being recorded, not by some external judge, but by the universe itself? What if those invisible imprints were not only shaping your present, but actively building the foundation of your future? This is not science fiction. This is the essence of the great law, the first and most fundamental law of karma. You may have heard the phrase before, as you sow, so shall you reap. But have you truly considered its weight? It's not just poetic wisdom, it's a universal truth about cause and effect. Every choice you make plants a seed. Some seeds bloom quickly, others take years, but none vanish into thin air. They grow, and eventually they return to you, often in ways you least expect. Let's consider a real-life example. Imagine a young entrepreneur named Marcus, who built his business from scratch. In the early days, he was known for cutting corners, underpaying employees, and misleading clients to secure deals. He justified it as just business. For a while, he thrived, but over time, clients stopped trusting him. Employees left in frustration. His reputation crumbled. Opportunities vanished. Eventually, Marcus found himself alone, his company failing, his name tainted. Why did this happen? Because he sowed distrust, exploitation, and dishonesty. And like any farmer reaping what he planted, he harvested exactly that: emptiness, betrayal, and loss. Now contrast that with Sophia, a small-town florist who treated every customer with kindness, sourced her flowers ethically, and supported struggling local vendors. She didn't chase shortcuts. She focused on integrity. Over time, people began to notice. Word spread. Her shop became a community favorite. She earned more than just profit. She earned loyalty, respect, and peace of mind. Her harvest: abundance, connection, and joy. This is not coincidence. This is karma in motion. The great law doesn't punish or reward, it simply reflects. What you give out, whether good or bad, will return to you. Not always in the same form, not always at the same speed, but always with precision. So ask yourself, what are you planting today? Are your actions rooted in kindness, honesty, and compassion, or fear, greed, and manipulation? Because whatever you're sowing now, you will one day reap. And the beauty and the warning in this law is that you always have the power to choose your next seed. Law number 2, the law of creation. You attract what you are, not what you want. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly attract success, love, and abundance, while others struggle endlessly despite wanting the same things? Why do so many chase after dreams that never materialize? Is it bad luck, poor timing, or could there be something deeper at play? The answer may lie in who you are, not just what you want. This is the core of the law of creation. It states a simple but powerful truth. You attract what you are, not what you want. Your outer world reflects your inner state. If you want different results, you must first become the person who naturally draws those results into their life. Let's unpack this with a modern example. Meet Amanda, a talented graphic designer in her late 20s. She had always dreamed of working for top-tier clients and running her own creative studio. But no matter how hard she tried, she kept landing low-paying gigs, dealing with difficult clients, and feeling stuck in a cycle of mediocrity. She would scroll through Instagram, admiring other designers with sleek portfolios, high-profile clients, and enviable lifestyles. She wanted what they had, badly. She even started mimicking their branding, copying their pricing strategies, and posting similar content. Still, nothing changed. Why? Because Amanda wasn't embodying the energy of someone who deserved those opportunities. Deep down, she struggled with self-doubt. She saw herself as someone who was still trying to make it. She feared rejection, hesitated to ask for fair pay, and often apologized for her work, even when it was excellent. In essence, she was attracting clients and situations that matched her internal frequency: uncertainty, scarcity, and insecurity. So, what did she do differently? She decided to shift inward before expecting any change outward. She began investing in her mindset, reading books on confidence, taking courses to refine her skills, and most importantly, treating herself like a professional, even when she didn't feel like one yet. She stopped comparing herself to others and started building her identity around excellence, professionalism, and self-worth. Slowly, things began to shift. Her new energy attracted better clients, ones who respected her time, paid well, and appreciated her work. It wasn't magic, it was alignment. When you align your internal world, your beliefs, habits, and self-image with what you desire externally, you begin to create the conditions for that desire to manifest. Because the universe doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to who you are being. This law teaches us that we are co-creators of our reality. We don't just dream and hope, we shape. Our thoughts, actions, and even the way we carry ourselves send signals into the world. These signals determine what comes back to us. If you want peace, become peaceful. If you want love, become loving. If you want success, act like someone who already knows they are capable of it. The law of creation demands responsibility. It asks you to stop blaming external circumstances and start looking inward. Because until you take ownership of your inner world, you cannot expect the outer world to reflect what you truly desire. So ask yourself, are you attracting what you want or what you are? Law number 3, the law of humility. What you resist persists. Why do some people seem trapped in the same painful cycles, repeating unhealthy relationships, failing at the same goals, or struggling with the same emotional wounds over and over again? They try to change. They make promises to themselves. They read books, attend seminars, talk to friends, but somehow nothing sticks. Could it be that the very act of resisting their reality is what keeps them stuck? This is the essence of the law of humility, a karmic principle that cuts through denial and forces us to confront a deep truth. Whatever you resist persists. You cannot grow beyond something unless you first accept it. Denial only gives it more power over your life. Let's take a modern example to illustrate this law. Meet Elena, a successful marketing executive in her early 30s. On the surface, she had everything together. Great job, strong social circle, healthy lifestyle. But inside, she was constantly battling anxiety. She would wake up each morning dreading the day, feeling like she was never enough. Despite her achievements, she felt like an imposter. She tried everything to suppress these feelings: meditation apps, productivity hacks, even therapy, but nothing seemed to fully work. She kept pushing herself harder, believing that if she just worked longer hours, got promoted faster, or achieved more, the anxiety would disappear. But it didn't. In fact, the more she resisted the discomfort, the worse it became. It started showing up in her relationships, snapping at friends, withdrawing from loved ones, avoiding meaningful conversations. Her body began to show signs too: chronic fatigue, insomnia, digestive issues. It wasn't until she finally stopped trying to fix everything and instead sat with her pain that things began to shift. She started journaling honestly about her fears, not just the big ones, but the small, embarrassing ones too. She admitted that beneath her confident exterior was a girl who feared rejection, abandonment, and failure. She realized she had spent years trying to outrun those insecurities instead of facing them. And when she did face them, with humility, not shame, they began to lose their grip on her. This is the power of the law of humility. When we stop fighting our reality and start embracing it, we open the door for transformation. Because the universe doesn't respond to resistance, it responds to acceptance. Think of it like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. But if you relax and distribute your weight, you can slowly pull yourself free. The same applies to life. If you are dealing with fear, grief, guilt, or any kind of inner conflict, trying to avoid or suppress it will only prolong its presence. Instead, acknowledge it. Own it. Understand that it exists for a reason, and that understanding is the first step toward healing. This law teaches us that growth begins with humility. It asks us to look inward without judgment, to admit our flaws, and to stop pretending everything is fine when it isn't. So ask yourself, what part of your life have you been ignoring? What emotions have you been resisting? What truths about yourself have you refused to face? Because until you stop running from your shadows, they will keep following you. Law number 4, the law of growth. Wherever you go, there you will be. What if you could escape your problems by simply changing your location? What if all it took to fix your life was a fresh start in a new city, a different job, or even a new relationship? You might have tried it before, moving to a new place, hoping for a new version of yourself. And for a while, things felt better. But then, slowly, the same patterns returned, the same frustrations, the same inner battles. Why? Because no matter where you go, you are still you. This is the essence of the law of growth. Wherever you go, there you are. It means that true transformation doesn't come from changing your environment. It comes from changing within. If you don't address the root of your struggles, they will follow you everywhere. Your internal world shapes your external reality. So if you want to grow, you must first evolve your mindset, your beliefs, and your habits. Let's explore this with a modern story. Meet Daniel, a 35-year-old software engineer who had always dreamed of living abroad. He believed that moving to Europe would finally bring him the peace and fulfillment he'd been missing. He imagined a life filled with culture, adventure, and meaningful connections. After months of planning, Daniel packed his bags and moved to Barcelona. For the first few weeks, everything felt magical. He explored the city, met new people, and felt like he was finally living the life he wanted. But as the novelty wore off, something strange happened. He started feeling the same loneliness he thought he had left behind. He struggled to make deep friendships. His anxiety returned. He found himself procrastinating at work again, just like he did back home. Even though he was thousands of miles away, he realized he hadn't changed. He was still carrying the same self-doubt, the same fear of rejection, the same need for validation. Eventually, he began to understand. His problem wasn't his old life, it was how he related to himself within that life. So he made a decision, not to move again, but to look inward. He started therapy, committed to daily journaling, and worked on building healthier routines. He stopped blaming his surroundings and started taking responsibility for his emotional state. Slowly, things began to shift. Not because Barcelona became perfect, but because he began to change. He started forming deeper relationships, enjoying his work more, and feeling at peace with himself. It wasn't the city that gave him growth, it was his willingness to grow inside the city. This law teaches us that we cannot run from ourselves. Wherever we go, our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors travel with us. Changing your environment can offer perspective, but lasting change only happens when you begin to shift your inner landscape. Think of it like upgrading the foundation of a house. If the foundation is weak, it doesn't matter how beautiful the exterior looks. It will eventually crumble. Similarly, if your inner world is filled with negativity, doubt, or fear, no amount of external changes will truly satisfy you. True growth begins when you stop searching for happiness outside and start cultivating it within. So ask yourself, are you trying to escape something instead of facing it? Are you waiting for the perfect situation to feel whole? Are you carrying the same emotional weight into every new chapter of your life? If so, perhaps it's time to stop running and start growing. Law number 5, the law of responsibility. Our lives are of our own doing, nothing else. What if the most powerful force shaping your life wasn't fate, luck, or circumstance, but you? What if every moment of your life, every joy, every hardship, every opportunity missed or seized was a direct result of choices you made, even if they were subconscious or long forgotten? This is the essence of the law of responsibility. It doesn't mean that everything in life happens because you asked for it. It means that how you respond to what happens to you is entirely within your control. You may not be responsible for the storm, but you are responsible for building the roof that can withstand it. Let's explore this with a modern example. Meet Jamal, a 32-year-old project manager who grew up in a rough neighborhood. His parents struggled financially, and he witnessed violence, addiction, and instability from a young age. As an adult, he found himself repeating the same patterns: broken relationships, financial stress, emotional volatility. He often said things like, "I was set up for failure. My childhood ruined me. How could I have turned out any different?" He blamed his upbringing, his environment, even his genetics. And while those factors undeniably shaped him, he remained stuck because he refused to take responsibility for where he was now. One day, after yet another failed relationship, Jamal hit a breaking point. He realized that if he kept waiting for someone or something to fix his life, nothing would ever change. So he began asking himself hard questions. What part of my life am I still blaming others for? What habits am I refusing to change? What excuses am I clinging to that keep me powerless? He started therapy. He read books on emotional intelligence. He took accountability, not just for his actions, but for his reactions. He stopped seeing himself as a victim of his past and began viewing himself as the architect of his future. And slowly, things began to shift. His relationships improved, not because people changed, but because he changed how he showed up in them. He got better at managing money, not because he suddenly earned more, but because he became intentional about saving and investing. He felt more at peace, not because life stopped being hard, but because he stopped resisting reality and started working with it. This law teaches us that blame keeps you trapped, responsibility sets you free. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. That response, your mindset, your decisions, your daily habits, is the foundation of your destiny. Think of it this way. Life hands you raw materials. Some get dealt better cards than others. But ultimately, it's what you build with those materials that defines your path. When you stop pointing fingers and start taking ownership, even for the parts of your life that feel unfair, you reclaim your power. Because when you accept that your life is of your own doing, you also accept that your transformation is possible. So ask yourself, what part of your life are you still blaming someone else for? What pain are you holding on to that no longer serves you? What story are you telling yourself that keeps you stuck? Only when you answer these questions with honesty can you begin to rewrite your life. Law number 6, the law of connection. Everything you do is somehow connected. Have you ever considered how a single choice today could ripple through your life years from now? Or how a momentary act of kindness, seemingly insignificant at the time, might change someone's entire trajectory? We often live as if our actions exist in isolation, like disconnected dots on a vast canvas. But what if every thought, word, and deed is part of a larger, invisible web? What if the person you were yesterday, the decision you made this morning, and even the way you treated that stranger in line are all threads in the tapestry of your future? This is the essence of the law of connection. It teaches us that nothing exists in isolation. Every action, no matter how small, sends energy into the world and sets off a chain reaction. Your past choices shape your present. Your present choices will define your future. And somewhere along the way, everything connects. Let's explore this with a modern example. Meet Nina, a 28-year-old teacher who grew up in a troubled home. Her parents struggled with addiction, and she spent much of her childhood feeling unseen and unheard. As an adult, she carried deep scars, low self-esteem, difficulty trusting others, and a lingering sense of unworthiness. When she started teaching, she was determined to be different. She wanted to be the kind of mentor she never had, a safe presence for students who felt lost. One day, a quiet student named Eli sat silently during class while the rest of the group chatted. He rarely participated, Nina noticed he always carried a worn-out notebook and seemed deeply withdrawn. Instead of brushing it aside, she decided to check in. She asked him gently, "Is everything okay?" That one question opened the door. Eli shared that his father had recently passed away and he hadn't told anyone. He was drowning in grief and shame, convinced no one would understand. Nina listened, not just once, but repeatedly. She offered space for him to speak, lent him books on dealing with loss, and encouraged him to write down his thoughts. Slowly, Eli began to open up. Years later, Nina received a letter from Eli. He was now studying psychology in college, determined to help others the way she had helped him. He wrote, "You didn't know it then, but your simple act of noticing me saved my life. That moment changed everything." What Nina gave wasn't grand or dramatic. It was a small gesture, presence, attention, compassion. Yet it created a ripple effect that extended far beyond that classroom. This is the power of the law of connection. Your actions don't vanish into thin air. They echo outward, sometimes subtly, sometimes profoundly. A kind word may lift someone's spirits when they're about to give up. A generous act might inspire another to pay it forward. Even your negative behaviors, like harsh words or selfish choices, can create unintended consequences that affect people you'll never meet. Think of your life as a stone dropped into water. Each ripple represents a consequence of your actions. Some ripples fade quickly, others reach distant shores. This law reminds us that we are not isolated beings. We are part of a vast, interconnected web of existence. The energy we put out shapes not only our own path, but also the lives of others. So ask yourself, who have you impacted today without even realizing it? What seeds did you plant yesterday that are still growing? How might your current choices influence the world decades from now? Because the truth is, every action counts, every word matters, every choice echoes. Law number 7, the law of focus. You cannot think of two things at the same time. What if your mind was a magnifying glass and your thoughts were sunlight? If you scatter the lens, nothing happens. But when you focus it on a single point, the energy intensifies and something catches fire. This is the power of focus. The law of focus teaches us a simple yet profound truth. You cannot think of two things at the same time. Your mind is not designed for multitasking in thought. It's built to zero in on one thing at a time. And whatever you place your attention on grows stronger in your life. So what are you feeding with your focus? Let's explore this with a modern story. Meet Tasha, a 29-year-old digital marketer who always felt like she was chasing success but never quite reaching it. She had big dreams, launching her own brand, speaking at conferences, building a following that truly mattered. But every time she sat down to work on her goals, she got distracted. She'd check social media between tasks. She'd scroll through other people's achievements, comparing herself endlessly. She'd worry about what might go wrong, replaying fears of failure over and over again. Even during moments of progress, doubt crept in. Was she good enough? Was she wasting her time? Despite working long hours, she wasn't moving forward. Her projects stalled. Her confidence dipped. And worst of all, she felt increasingly disconnected from her original purpose. Then one day, she stumbled upon an old journal entry from 5 years earlier. It read, "I want to help women feel empowered through storytelling. I don't need millions of followers. I just want to make a difference." Something clicked. Tasha realized that her scattered focus was diluting her power. She was trying to do everything at once, chasing trends, obsessing over metrics, worrying about competition. She wasn't focused on why she started, only on how far she hadn't gone. So she made a change. She set clear priorities. Every morning, she asked herself, what one action today will bring me closest to my vision? She limited distractions. She turned off notifications. She stopped comparing herself to others. Instead of fixating on what she lacked, she focused on what she could control: her message, her voice, her growth. Slowly, things began to shift. Her content became more authentic. Her audience responded. Opportunities came, not because she chased them, but because she had become intentional about where she placed her energy. This is the essence of the law of focus. Your attention is your most powerful resource. What you give your mental energy to expands in your life. If you dwell on fear, fear grows. If you fixate on lack, scarcity follows. But if you direct your focus toward clarity, purpose, and progress, you begin to create momentum. Think of it this way. You can't drive forward while constantly looking in the rearview mirror or staring out the window. To move ahead, your eyes must stay fixed on the road ahead. This law reminds us that where your attention goes, your life follows. So ask yourself, are you giving your mental energy to what truly matters? Are you allowing distractions to dilute your purpose? Are you focusing on problems or on solutions? Because the moment you choose where to place your focus, you begin to shape your reality. Law number 8. The law of giving and hospitality. Demonstrating our selflessness shows true intentions. What does it truly mean to be kind? Is kindness just a word we throw around when someone holds the door open or offers a compliment? Or is it something deeper, something that reveals who we really are when no one is watching? This is where the law of giving and hospitality comes in. It teaches us that true intentions are revealed through selfless action. You may say you believe in generosity, compassion, and service, but unless your actions reflect those beliefs consistently, they remain mere thoughts. Intentions without action are like seeds left in a drawer. No matter how beautiful they are, they'll never grow into anything real unless planted in soil, watered, and given time. Let's explore this with a modern example. Meet Raj, a successful businessman known for his sharp mind and quick decisions. He was respected in the corporate world, but privately struggled with loneliness. Despite his wealth and achievements, he felt empty. He had everything society told him would bring happiness, except peace. He often said things like, "I want to give back. One day, I'll start a foundation. I believe in helping others." But one day never came. His schedule was packed, his priorities were always shifting, and every time he thought about giving, he convinced himself he wasn't ready yet, that he needed more time, more money, more certainty. Then one day, an old friend reached out. She had fallen on hard times, her small business was failing, and she was barely keeping up with rent. She asked if he could help her financially for a few months while she got back on her feet. Raj hesitated. He had the means, but he didn't have the mindset. He worried about being taken advantage of. He feared setting a precedent. He justified his hesitation by telling himself she should have been more responsible. Eventually, he sent a small amount, not enough to make a real difference, but just enough to ease his guilt. And as soon as he did, he felt worse. Because deep down, he knew he hadn't acted from a place of true generosity. He gave out of obligation, not from the heart. That moment shook him. He realized that all his talk about kindness and service meant nothing if he wasn't willing to act on them when it mattered most. So he made a change. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment to give, he started small. Buying meals for strangers, mentoring young entrepreneurs, volunteering at a local shelter. These weren't grand gestures, but they carried weight because they came from sincerity. Over time, Raj began to feel different. Not because he was suddenly a hero, but because he was finally aligning his actions with his values. And something unexpected happened. His relationships deepened. People began trusting him more. Opportunities came his way that he never expected. Doors opened, not because he forced them, but because he had become someone who naturally attracted goodwill. This is the power of the law of giving and hospitality. It doesn't demand that you give everything you have. It simply asks that you give authentically. Because when you give without expecting recognition, when you serve without needing praise, when you offer kindness without strings attached, you reveal who you truly are beneath the surface. Your selflessness becomes proof of your intentions. Think of it this way. We all wear masks in life. We present versions of ourselves that are polished, professional, or even spiritual, but it's only when we're tested, when someone needs us, when someone is hurting, when someone has nothing, that our real character shines through. True giving isn't about what you can afford to lose. It's about what you're willing to share even when it costs you something. This law reminds us that your highest values are not what you speak. They are what you do when it matters most. So ask yourself, do your actions reflect what you claim to believe? When was the last time you gave without expecting anything in return? What part of your life is still filled with intention but lacks execution? Because until you turn belief into behavior, karma cannot flow. Law number 9, the law of presence. One cannot be present if they are looking backward, or, for that matter, forward. What if the only moment that truly belongs to you is this one? Not the past, no matter how painful or proud. Not the future, no matter how exciting or terrifying. Just this second, this breath. This is the essence of the law of presence. It tells us a simple but often ignored truth. You cannot be fully present if your mind is stuck in the past or chasing the future. And when you're not present, you miss life as it unfolds. Because life doesn't happen in memory or in imagination, it happens now. Let's explore this with a modern example. Meet Maya, a 34-year-old writer who had always dreamed of publishing her first novel. She spent years drafting and revising, pouring her heart into every chapter. But when she finally finished the manuscript, instead of feeling accomplished, she felt paralyzed. She kept rereading old drafts, obsessing over what she could have done better. She imagined all the ways critics might tear it apart. She worried about whether anyone would even care to read it. Her mind was constantly bouncing between the past, I should have written it differently, and the future, what if I fail? And so, the book sat on her laptop untouched for months. Her agent called. Editors reached out. Opportunities came knocking, but Maya wasn't there to answer them. She was too busy reliving regrets and rehearsing fears. Eventually, she realized something. She was living in a movie that hadn't happened yet, while missing the real one playing right in front of her. So she made a decision, not to erase her past or control the future, but to reclaim the present. She started meditating daily, not to silence her thoughts, but to observe them without getting swept away. She set small, achievable goals each day to move the project forward. And most importantly, she learned to pause and ask herself, where am I right now? When she caught herself spiraling into regret or anxiety, she gently brought herself back to the page, to the words, to the work itself. Slowly, momentum returned. She submitted her manuscript. It got accepted. A year later, she held her published book in her hands. But more than that, she felt alive again, because presence had returned her to herself. This is the power of the law of presence. It teaches us that the only time we ever have full access to is the present moment. We can learn from the past, we can plan for the future, but we must live now, or risk losing our lives to moments that no longer exist or haven't arrived yet. Think of it like driving a car while staring at the rearview mirror or looking out the window for landmarks miles ahead. You might know where you've been and where you're going, but if you don't keep your eyes on the road beneath your wheels, you'll crash before you get there. Your dreams won't manifest through worry. Your healing won't come through avoidance. Your joy won't arrive by chasing it in fantasy. It comes through showing up fully, deeply, and honestly where you are. This law reminds us that presence is power, because when you're here, truly here, you're able to respond, not react, to create, not escape, to heal, not hide. So ask yourself, are you living in yesterday's pain or tomorrow's fear? Or are you stepping fully into today's possibility? Are you missing the beauty of now because you're either clinging to the past or chasing the future? Because until you stop escaping the present, you will never experience life as it truly is. Law number 10, the law of patience and reward. Nothing of value is created without a patient mindset. Have you ever wanted something so badly that the waiting felt unbearable? You poured your energy into it. You gave it your best effort. But when the results didn't come as fast as you hoped, frustration crept in. Doubt followed. And before long, you questioned whether it was worth it at all. This is the moment where most people give up, not because their goal was unattainable, but because they underestimated the time it would take to achieve it. This is where the law of patience and reward steps in. It reminds us of an essential truth. Nothing of real value, be it success, wisdom, love, or mastery, is created without patience. Great things require time. Growth demands endurance, and true reward only comes to those who persist through uncertainty. Let's explore this with a modern example. Meet Carlos, a 26-year-old aspiring filmmaker who had always dreamed of directing his own feature film. He spent years studying cinematography, editing videos, and working odd jobs in the industry. He knew what he wanted, but no matter how hard he tried, doors remained closed. He applied to film festivals, rejected, sent scripts to producers, ignored, even started a YouTube channel, grew slowly. After 2 years of relentless effort with little visible progress, Carlos began to doubt himself. He compared his journey to others who seemed to rise overnight. He wondered if he was wasting his time. Maybe he wasn't good enough. Maybe he should quit and do something more practical. But instead of giving up entirely, he decided to reframe his thinking. He asked himself, if I keep going for just 1 more year, will I be better than I am today? The answer was yes. So he made a decision, not to chase instant success, but to commit to the process. He kept making short films, even if only a few hundred people watched them. He continued learning from feedback. He built relationships with fellow creators, even if it took months to connect. He showed up consistently, not for immediate recognition, but because he believed in his vision. And then, something changed. One of his short films caught the eye of a small production company. They invited him to collaborate on a web series. That led to another opportunity, then another. Within a year, he was directing episodes for a streaming platform. And finally, his first full-length film got greenlit. Carlos hadn't suddenly become talented overnight. He had simply stayed patient long enough for his persistence to turn into progress. This is the power of the law of patience and reward. It teaches us that time is not your enemy, it's your ally. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a short period and underestimate what they can achieve with consistent effort over time. Think of it like planting a tree. You don't dig it up every week to check its roots. You water it, you protect it, you trust the process, even when nothing seems to be happening above ground. In life, the same principle applies. You may not see results today. You may not feel rewarded tomorrow. But if you keep showing up, if you keep refining, growing, and believing, you will eventually reap what you have patiently sown. This law reminds us that the most valuable rewards are not handed out, they are earned. Through discipline, through resilience, through faith in yourself when no one else sees what you're building. So ask yourself, are you willing to wait for what truly matters? Can you endure the silence between the effort and the outcome? Are you ready to trust the process, even when the results aren't immediate? Because until you embrace patience, you will never experience the depth of true reward. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, do well to click like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more insightful videos. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so you can be notified when next I post subsequent videos. See you on my next video. Bye.